Fenris Wolf joins Marvel Snap and he's got my full attention. I'll break down what makes him a must-have and also give you the inside scoop on Annihilus and Werewolf by Night. Let's dive into which of these spotlight cards are truly worth it. I am a huge believer in Fenris Wolf. If you know my channel at all, I put Shang-Chi in a good deal of my decks. And so Fenris Wolf is just a fantastic combination with Shang-Chi. Overall, I like using keys for this week. There is Fenris Wolf, who is going to be strong. There's Annihilus, who is a strong card in his own right. And then there is Werewolf by Night. So at least two of the cards are good. Fenris Wolf is an activate card who resurrects the highest power discarded or destroyed enemy card to your side of this location. I could see Fenris Wolf slotting into mill type decks. There is Silver Samurai, who doesn't necessarily destroy high power cards, but he can discard your opponent's Iron Man, which is super valuable, a Blob, or other low power, high impact cards that you wouldn't mind resurrecting on your side of the board. Fenris Wolf is of course a natural counter to Hela. And while I did make a Hela deck video, a very off-meta version, Hela, that was not enough to bring her back. So she needs to resurrect herself. And then there's, of course, Shang-Chi and cards like Gladiator and Negasonic. With Fenris Wolf being an activate card, that means you need to play him by turn 5. If you play him on turn 6, of course, you cannot activate him, so he's essentially a dead card. All that said, at 2 cost, 3 power, I like him a lot. I can turn 5 Shang-Chi, and some of my decks you will get to see how I can re-trigger Shang-Chi, or how some of these games would play out with some more off-meta versions of a Fenris Wolf deck. For our newer players, I will get to a Series 2 and Series 3 version of what I think a Fenris Wolf deck looks like. But for now, we will start with the deck that I am interested to try first. This deck really wants to gain priority. It is a theory-crafted deck. All of these are.
So these decks stink.
No. That doesn't mean that the decks stink. It just means there will probably be some refinements, and yeah, they might stink.
Do not disagree with me again.
But that is the pleasure I have in crafting some of these decks. It's not to present bad decks. That's just part of the process. And then I refine them. And so you get to see an insight into kind of how my mind works with these first versions. And then I will take them into Conquest, see how they do in a low stakes type of situation, and then refine them from there, see what cards aren't working, see what cards are working. For this one, the main goal is to grab priority. The reason I was saying some of these decks might stink, this is a priority deck, and I didn't put Eliath in here. So that may be a change as I investigate this deck, actually use the deck. But for now, this deck wants to gain priority, and its main purpose of that is a Negasonic. So I have Daredevil on turn 5, assuming I have priority. Medusa can give me that. A zeroed out Titania or Lizard, even a Lizard by himself. And I can gain priority. So then on turn 5 with my Daredevil down, I can snipe their big power card with Negasonic. I have Symbiote Spider-Man that can actually re-trigger a Negasonic if they have already triggered it. Or, I hope that's how Negasonic works. Again, this is all theory crafted. Or re-triggering a Shang-Chi. Even another zero if I want to zero out the Titania or a late Lizard. I have Shang-Chi, of course, which works with Fenris Wolf. And Cosmo, just for some disruption, maybe to protect my Fenris Wolf from being interacted with, to fight back against some of the on-reveal decks. And then Red Hulk, which is just a large power card if I end up going Shang-Chi on turn 5. I could Grandmaster that Shang-Chi, or I could just slam a Red Hulk to end the game, and Fenris Wolf wins me that other lane. So I'm covering all 3 lanes through destroying their cards, resurrecting their card, and then playing Red Hulk in the 3rd location. I don't have Surtur, But if I did, this is the exact version I would be playing. Again, I love Shang-Chi in my decks, and using Fenris Wolf to resurrect one of the big 10 power cards they have is just fantastic. And I really like this deck a lot. I have armor here, of course, to protect my own cards, maybe on a last turn play. Eliath serves a similar purpose in shutting down what opponents want to do. I'm probably going to have priority with this deck. Maybe this tempts me to get Surtur. I didn't get Surtur because I find it to be a very quote-unquote boring card that didn't really intrigue me as far as off-meta goes, which is what I do. But if I don't see anybody playing this specific flavor, maybe I bite the bullet, get Surtur, and try it out. But if I don't, and you decide to try it, let me know how it does for you. Here is a pure Series 3 version, or Series 3 and below. There aren't any high cost, high power cards. So this really comes down to using some of the disruptive elements, and that of course is Negasonic and Shang-Chi. Using Zero on Titania and Lizard maybe. There is a Green Goblin here, so you can, with the Green Goblin and Titania combo, you can fill their lane and then flip it back on the last turn, flip that Titania back. There's an Angela here, which is good for a Green Goblin to play into that lane. It's good for Nightcrawler because you can move those cards out. So I'm really interested to see how this will play, if this can compete. But with Negasonic, you might be able to snipe a key card, bring that back with Fenris, and now you're in business. And as promised, here is the pure Series 2 version. So if you are at Series 2, you're at that level, you won't typically be facing too many players with a lot of cards that are way past your level until you hit Infinite, and then it's a whole different story. So this version, it's a little odd. So I have the Storm and Gamora combo. There's also Vision here, which can slide into a Storm lane. There is the Fenris Wolf and Shang-Chi combo, of course. There is Odin in here, and Odin can re-trigger a Gamora. It can re-trigger a Shang-Chi if you played Shang-Chi on 5. And they go, oh, that Shang-Chi's out of the way. I can play my big card back into that lane. You can Odin that lane and wipe out their big card again. You have Cable for a little bit of disruption. Iceman plays the same role. And you have Rocket Raccoon and Wolfsbane, which you can play down early. And if you miss, you can always follow that up with Odin on turn 6 to re-trigger it as well. To quickly touch on the other two cards in the spotlight. First, Annihilus. Annihilus is a strong card. I like it a lot. It doesn't see much play anymore. The standard pairing you have with Annihilus is Sentry and the Hood that you can send over. You can also get a little creative and go with Debris and Hazmat to drop the rocks down to -1, and then you can follow that up with an Annihilus to really clog their lanes. If you are a fan of junk, this used to be a requirement depending on what flavor of junk. I'm still a big fan. When I run junk decks, I like to have Annihilus and really flood their side of the board. I also, if I'm running junk, love to play armor in that deck, because if you run into Destroy, it's not an instant win. You can actually fight back. So keep that in mind if you're constructing a junk deck. And assuming you get Annihilus in the Spotlight Cache, you should be relatively happy. Even if you're not a junk fan, just pairing him with Annihilus and Hood is enough. Like, you don't have to commit fully to the junk archetype. But if you are a big junk fan,
stop it. Get some help.
Then you should be happy. Werewolf by Night. Now, on his initial release, he was OP, and they had to nerf him. And then they buffed him or nerfed him and buffed him again. There's some history there. Where he stands now, he's just not that strong of a card. You also need to be a fan of his specific deck type. And what that requires is a bunch of small costed cards. And you also need to be good at move, because Werewolf will bounce around a lot. It'll gain a lot of power, But then you need to think of, okay, where can I position it and leading into the next turn, and where do I want him to end up on turn 6? So this is not an easy card to play with. It's not very strong at this point, especially with the other cards that you have to pair it with. So this card I cannot recommend under any circumstances. I'll be doing this a little bit differently than other creators you may see. I'm not going to necessarily talk about what you should do. I'm just going to talk about what I'm going to do. As of this recording, I have 10 spotlight keys and 21,000 tokens. So me personally, I could just spin the tokens, but tokens are hard to come by. So I really like to save and hoard those. As you can see, I'm a little bit of a hoarder because we do not operate in a vacuum. One thing you have to remember with Marvel Snap is there will be good months for cards and there will be bad months for cards. Or bad is a little harsh. There will be lower months for cards. This month is pretty much a lower month, right? So if what I've covered and discussed still doesn't interest you in Fenris Wolf, please save. Because the January or the December cards, I am super interested in. And if I continue doing these types of videos, I might recommend almost all of those cards. The December cards are very good. I haven't gotten a chance to look at January, but I'm hearing positive things about the January cards. So that's one thing you have to keep in mind with Marvel Snap. Try to take a long-term view, and if you aren't going to use these cards past the first week, just pass on it, save your resources, and that way when you have a killer month, you can get 3 or 4 new cards in that month. So back to this month, or this week, I will definitely be using keys because I have plenty, and then I will probably save them for the rest of the month. Fenris Wolf is such an easy decision for me to get just because of the type of player I am, and I have Shang-Chi in a lot of my decks, so why would I not want to pair him with Fenris Wolf? Nice 2-card combo, and I am all about my combos. Annihilus is a good, strong card that you should be happy getting, and that's it.